David Shapiro, veteran JSE analyst. Two big commodity counters released results this morning, Sasol and Anglo-American. Let's start with the former. Good performance, no dividend, fairy tale story the last 2 years. What's your high-level analysis telling you on Sasol's results?
I think we're going to talk Amplats as well. They both fit into the same category. When you look at commodity companies, what's under their control is production and costs. What's out of their control are pricing and the currency. Those are the two. So you have to measure all of those together. And both companies had blowouts in terms of pricing. So Sasol was supported by a massive increase in the Brent oil price and a big increase in chemical prices, which was in their favor. But credit to management having turned the ship around. I mean, aided and abetted by much better Brent oil price and by better chemical prices. Yes, input is also a part of their ethylene goes in and you come out with polyethylene and that. But those prices and the chemical prices helped them. So now, you say, how do we look forward? Are they on the right track to keep that going? Possibly, yes. I think they will. Will we see the kind of returns that we saw this year again? No, you can't. You can't expect that. So, but I'm so pleased that management is on the right track. They've brought down debt. They've still got massive debt. Don't ignore it, but they're generating the kind of cash that can actually reduce it. So I think you've got to make a call on where you think oil's going. I think it's going to hold up at these prices. The rand will hold up. Now it's up to operational efficiencies for them to produce decent profits. And they've got it. They're coming off a low base. So they had bad production in South Africa. They can improve that. They're still getting Lake Charles right, so they can improve that. So I think now it's management, and we'll see how they
Interestingly, Sasol's sort of pivoted from a pure oil counter to, if I look at the EBITDA number, half oil, half chemicals. Oil and chemicals prices have both been robust since March 2020, hence Sasol going up by multiples. Chemicals businesses are genuinely valued at higher multiples, which I read as more sustainable, therefore better going into the future. Am I misunderstanding this?
No. Look, and I mean, both are used in industry, so there's a very tight connection with industry, the product that they produce. So if you think that there's going to be global growth and demand's going to be there, then you're on the right track. They can maintain those margins and they can do well. Oil is much more difficult to read, and the production of oil, the refinement of oil. So you're dead right. It's a much more sustainable business. That's why they shifted. That's why they shifted away from gas to liquids to much more the chemical production. So I'm not a pear. I'm not a pear. I mean a bear. I'm generally bullish, and I know we're going through quite a rough time now with the news. It's not easy to digest, from inflation to the Russia-Ukraine problem and that. But overall, business investment looks robust. And I think we're going to, we're in for a good period of business investment. I don't want to say investment because that suggests, investors, you and me buying some shares in that. But I'm talking business investment, the fixed stuff that goes, build factories and build businesses. I think that's pretty robust at the moment. So I'm quite positive on the outlook for commodities in that area, in the investment side of business investment side of things.
David, you mentioned the cash flows, the pure profits, the cash generative nature of Sasol at these spot commodity prices. Do you not think it makes sense for maybe the next few periods to withhold a portion of that money, whether it be distributions via dividends or share buybacks, and spend that money for research and development on the new drivers of energy in the green economy?
You're so right. Listen, for me, that is it's the biggest option that's available. I'm doing something for a talk at the moment, and I'm looking at that, and I'm looking at the tech companies who put back about 20% of their profits, to sustain the growth of their businesses, and we don't do enough of it in South Africa. And I don't think I'm not sure that these businesses do enough of that. So you're 100% right. They should have a full division that just looks at it, creates that kind of environment. So yeah, I'm on your side of that, and to look for areas like that. Look, they've got issues they've got to address. Sasol in South Africa has to address the clean energy side of it. They've got to clean up their act and spend a lot of money doing that. But at the same time, you're right, they can look for other ways of generating, of generating future revenue. Yeah, definitely.
On that topic, David, Sasol Netzero 2050 goals, is this hype investor relations tick box exercises, or can this actually be a reality?
I hope it's a reality, but I think getting there is going to be a lot more difficult. I know that's a big argument. The big debate is whether we can actually give up fossil fuels, whether we can go into into renewables. But it's so difficult for us to give that up at this stage. So I think it's going to be a big ask. But you need tough government and tough management to get there. Have we got it? I don't know. It's very easy to concede. When things look tough, you concede. And I still think it's going to be a rough path to get there. But at least it's there. And they will report to it. And you can address them and you can attack them every year or every 6 months on that. And there's nothing worse for a CEO to sit in a boardroom and be attacked by some snotty little youngster, rightfully requesting, asking these questions. So, yeah, they don't want to be in that position. They don't want to have the arrogance of being snooty, because I think the youngsters have got time on their sides and they've got the argument on their sides.
Last time we used pivot during this conversation, David, we're going to shift from Sasol to Anglo American Platinum. Unbelievable numbers, 300 Rand full year dividend. That's if you include the interim dividend, the full year dividend, and the special dividend. Crazy numbers. They were trading below this mark a few years ago. Your high level analysis of the numbers.
That's commodities. If you're going to follow platinum, the time to buy it is when they bombed out. And then when it's there, we only see downside. We don't see upside. We haven't got the courage to actually believe in the future. So we miss those opportunities. I think now we're at the level where platinum is pretty high, and we've got to make the same calls. But again, we go back to management. Can they continue to increase production? Can they find new revenue lines? Can they keep costs under control? Hopefully, yes. And sustain these kind of profits. But they had a cracker year. I mean, if what was the Rand basket up 50-60% or something like that? The dollar basket was even higher. So can rhodium and palladium and all these prices maintain these kind of continue to go? I don't know. I'm not so sure. I'm quite happy at these levels, but then it's up to the miners. And I don't, when you call me a veteran, that's how we used to operate back in the 70s and 80s, where mines never had the benefit of higher prices. They had to be efficient and they had to have operational efficiencies. And people bought them for a return of cash, for the dividends. But I think it was a really good result. And once more, you've got to give credit to management for producing what they did produce.
Sure, David. David, more on a behavioral finance perspective, I think this stands for both Sasol and Angloplat. Sasol a 17 bagger in 2 years, Anglo Platinum a 10 bagger in 5 years. It's easy to sell on 100% or 200% gains, but that would have turned out to be a bad mistake. Yet there hasn't been a bad profitable trade in history. On the contrary, positions like these can take up a disproportionate amount of your portfolio if they continue to run. Long story short, how does one know when to sell?
Yeah, that's so difficult. I look, the charter, I look at the trend, and in both cases, the trend is still pointing upwards. And I think you've got to watch that carefully. You've got to watch when the smart money leaves. They say the trend is your friend, but I mean, when it starts to slope the other way, all that's telling you is, listen, the smart money's getting out. And I like to follow the smart money. And at the moment, the smart money is still getting in. So I think you can just continue the journey a little longer. I don't think it's time to get out yet, especially if you've had it for so long. But you'll soon tell when it's. Look, the price a year ago was actually in Amplats was higher than we are at the moment. So that gives you some kind of idea of how volatile this can be. But for the meantime, just, you don't have to get out at this stage.
David, I don't like to put you on the spot, but just to finish off, Sasol or Angloplats on a 5-year basis, which one would you rather hold?
I think I like Angloplats, yeah. I prefer Angloplats. I don't. Cecil, there are too many moving parts. There are far too many moving parts. Whereas platinum, we can just read platinum, palladium, rhodium, whatever it is, and also I think we're getting into a period of good fixed investment. Of business investment, and that's one of my driving themes. It translates into a lot of things. Electric cars, it's all around that. But I think demand for these clean metals is going to continue.